Hey, there's the maiden here. And this is Sonic Drift 2. I used to not understand the options menu here. The enemy option allows you to turn off obstacles in the road. And in Sonic Drift 1, and probably 2 as well, the hard mode is what makes your opponents move faster. Like, they accelerate faster. So I guess that was the difference. When you choose auto instead of manual in this menu, then it causes the game to automatically select your rival. I'm guessing the rival is the opponent that's the most formidable. Like, maybe he has an artificial advantage. And that leads me to one of the biggest issues I have with this game. Rubber banding AI. A lot of times it feels like it's a luck-based mission beating the levels, because the opponents are artificially increasing their speed when you get ahead of them. It's not like in Drift 1 where the game completely rewards you for staying on the road because you overlap them, and as long as you're in front of them, you stay in front of them. Now, it would have been fine if they just had the opponents use items against you and hit dash pads and stuff. That would have been fine. But rubber banding AI it feels cheap to me. It feels like it's cheating. There are new characters introduced in this game. For the most part, though, they're literally just gameplay clones of racers that we already had in the previous game. Metal Sonic has basically the same special ability as Sonic. He has a Nitro Boost. But for some reason, it uses up more coins. I mean, no. It uses up 3 rings instead of 2. I'm not sure why, because his boost doesn't seem all that different from Sonic's. Maybe I'm just not noticing it, but it doesn't seem to be that much faster. There's a whole bunch of new items introduced in this game. You can pick up an item, you can throw it at opponents that are ahead of you. The game doesn't have any red shells, which really sucks. I mean, it feels like a vital part of a racing game with items at this point. So, if you have to specifically hit the opponent in front of you. And most of the time, that's not really a viable option, especially if they're really far ahead of you. So, most of the time, I don't successfully hit with items. I hate those mines. I hate how they make a flash of light and they make you spin out immediately. And the roads are really narrow, just like in Drift 1. And I mentioned before that my least favorite part of Drift 1 was being behind drivers and trying to get in front of them without driving off the road. Because you can drive a little to the left or right to get around the other opponents. But if you drive too far to the left or right, you're gonna drive off the road and spin out. And that's very easy to do when the roads are so small and narrow. And because of the rubber banding AI and the fact that you're gonna get spun out so much more, you're pretty much guaranteed to have to put up with being in front of these guys, to being behind opponents a lot. It's just really annoying having to try to get in front of opponents. This level is annoying because if you don't hit that spring, then you're going to end up falling into the pit. And how did I lose to Eggman? He's still the slowest racer in all the Drift series. I lost to the worst character in the game as the fastest character. That is the perfect example of how cheap this game is. Balloon Park is pretty annoying because you run into its balloons and it has all sorts of weird effects that inconvenience you. One of the most glaring differences between Drift 1 and 2 is that in Drift 1, every single turn required you to drift for the maximum amount that you could. But in this game, it's inconsistent because not every turn requires you to drift. So if you do what you did before and try to apply your skills of Drift 1 to this game, then you're going to end up drifting too much all the time. And when you try to adjust to the fact that not every turn requires you to drift, then you're going to end up not drifting when you should. And it feels a lot harder to drift correctly in this game. Like in Drift 1, you could just hold down A and B and turn. And then just hear the audio cue play twice, and then you knew to stop drifting. It's not that simple in this game. And look at how far you turn when you drift. It's so easy to spin out and land on the edge of the road. And I don't really like the part of the race where you're riding on a wall. It just pops up out of nowhere, and you're so surprised. You're like, huh? What am I doing? But thankfully, you can just do nothing, and you'll stay on it just fine. Yeah, this game is definitely harder than Drift 1, but at the same time, I don't feel like it's nearly as fun. Because the reason I like Drift 1 is that it's so fast and thrilling, and it really rewards you for staying ahead of all of the opponents. It really rewards you for staying on the road, which is difficult to do in Drift 1. But this game, it's so easy to get behind the opponents and be trying to catch up with them. And a lot of the races aren't very fun, that's another thing. Like, a lot of the race courses can be pretty annoying. Yeah, this looks really tedious. Like, you choose manual, and then you have to manually select the racers yourself. So it takes a lot longer. And I guess it can be good for getting an advantage because you choose all of the worst racers as your enemies. But due to the rubber banding AI, that's not really gonna matter. I mean, I lost Eggman a whole bunch, and he was the worst racer in the game. Knuckles' special ability is that he has a spring jump just like Tails. But he's also unique in that he's one of the rare characters. He's the only character in the Drift games that has two special abilities, because if he uses his special ability next to another racer, he'll punch them and make them spin out. But I had no idea that he could do that when I played this game. Like, how are you supposed to know that he has two abilities at all? The white stripe on his chest was flesh colored in that goalpost there. I appreciate the fact that you're allowed to... I appreciate the fact that you have different characters, and you have more characters to choose from, but they're all just gameplay clones, and oh god, I hate this level. I mean, I think this has the best song in the game, but I hate how I hate all the flashes of light. And it's constantly flashing light at the top of the bottom half of the screen. And it's just so eye-straining to play. It doesn't feel fair trying to race against opponents when you constantly have flashes of light eye-straining you and disorienting you. And they're completely immune to it. Most of the tracks in this game are named after levels in Sonic 2 and Sonic 3, but there are some completely original level names. One of the things I hate about this game is, and the Drift series in general, is that whenever you reach a turn, you're forced to automatically veer to the left or right towards the edge of the road. You can't just continue to move forwards from the center of the road like would make sense. It makes driving off the road too easy to do, and it feels really cheap. Fang has such a weird look. This game was actually called Sonic Drift Racing in the European market. That was the alternate title that was sold under. But its title screen in Europe still calls it Sonic Drift 2. So, we got the game. Like, Sonic Drift 1 was restricted to Japan. And we got the game, but it was still called Sonic Drift 2. I'm not sure if a lot of people wanted Drift 1, or if they thought it must have been an inferior version to it. I hate this level. I mean, it's pretty harmless to play through, I guess, but just look at it. There's brown and black on the wall. There's brown and black walls, and they're constantly flashing while you're driving. It's kind of eye-straining to look at, because you just constantly see brown and black walls just constantly flashing. I'm not sure how else to describe it. This game has eye strain as one of its most glaring problems. The Drift games were actually the first games released outside of Japan, the Sonic franchise, to refer to Eggman as Eggman. Because in most Sonic games, I mean, Eggman was always called Eggman in Japan. But the Drift games were the first Sonic games in the West to call the villain Eggman. And they explained it in the manual as Robotnik going under that name. So, it's not like Sonic Adventure 2's idea of Eggman just taking on the name Eggman. That wasn't original to Sonic Adventure 2, because that was first introduced in the manual of this game. And this is Fang the Sniper. And this was the first game in the West to call him Fang Sniper instead of Knack. And Sonic the Fighters called him that too, so even in the West, where he had Knack as a censored name, because they thought Fang the Sniper was too badass and edgy, I guess, he was still called Fang the Sniper in most of the games in the West anyways. And I hate this level. It's so easy to fall off the edge. And it wouldn't be so bad if they just kept it consistent and had every turn be a turn that required drifting, or had none of the turns require drifting. And you have to wait for so long for the crane to come and pick you up and put you back on the track. What's different about Fang is that he can shoot a mine forwards. And that's going to come in real handy in this level. Unfortunately, this is yet another level that gives you eye strain. It has the exact same problem as the previous brown cave level. It's like you're driving and you're constantly seeing on the sides of the screen brown and black constantly flashing. But yeah, just press up on the control pad when an opponent gets behind you and just shoot a pellet forwards, and if you're in the center of the track, they're guaranteed to run into it. And unfortunately, there's plenty of obstacles on the road that if you run into them, you'll spin out. That's one of the reasons why I hate this game, and I don't think it's as fun as Drift 1. Because so many of the race courses have really annoying layouts to them. Either that or they cause eye strain, or both. You probably noticed on the driver select screen that Knuckles and Metal Sonic are not called by their proper names. Due to space limitations, the names of Knuckles and Metal Sonic are abbreviated as Knuckles with only one K and M Sonic. And later in the series, Metal Sonic shows some kind of identity issues with being a metal version of Sonic and not his own person. So you think he'd prefer to be called Metal, if anything. But it's not really about what he'd prefer to be called. I mean, this game's story doesn't really make any sense. Because why are Eggman and Metal Sonic racing with Sonic and his friends? Like, why are the heroes of the world okay with the villains racing them? Are they racing for Chaos Emeralds? And why is Fang joining it? I mean, shouldn't he have more important things to do? Like, crime to commit, jewels to find. That's why I don't really take the racing games as canon, because they don't really make any sense in the context of the main franchise. It's not really a go-karting with Bowser situation, because Sonic hates Eggman. They don't really have a friendly rivalry to them. They're enemies. It seems more in character for Mario to join a friendly competition with Bowser because he's extremely cheerful and optimistic and doesn't take anything seriously. And Sonic's carefree too, but he'd still be really reluctant to compete with Eggman in anything. I mean, he'd be happy to prove that he's better than him, but I don't think he would be okay with... I don't know, the story makes no sense. So it doesn't really matter that it happened because it's non-canon, so according to most of the games in the franchise, these games never happened. Oh god, it's this level. Is this what I think it is? Yup, Emerald Ocean. The really annoying thing about Emerald Ocean is that it's got this gimmick where you're automatically moving forwards, and you have to keep your speed above 40% or you'll fall through the raced course and into the water. If you're not moving fast enough, you'll fall through the water. And when I first played Emerald Ocean, I thought I was encountering a glitch where I was constantly clipping through the floor. Like, how was I supposed to know that there was a special gimmick associated with it? So if you run into any of the obstacles, then you're going to immediately fall into the ocean. Because you're racing along water. So I guess technically Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing Transformed wasn't the first racing game to introduce you driving on a car along the water. Because this game is very clearly doing it. Amy's hearts are annoying because they slow you down. They don't reverse your controls though, because that would really suck. Fang races in the Marvelous Queen, which is the exact same vehicle that he fought Sonic in Sonic Triple Trouble. Which is a nice little attention to detail. Like, they could have easily had him be in a normal car. Metal Sonic's car is called the Blue Devil. And it's weird because in games, in old school games, they kind of had this censorship policy where religion was not to be talked about. So, it's like in Mega Man 1, they had this enemy called the Yellow Devil, but it was called the Rock Monster or something in America, because they couldn't mention the word devil. And I mentioned before that they renamed A Link to the Past to they renamed Zelda the Triforce of the Gods to A Link to the Past because it mentioned the word gods. But Metal Sonic's car is allowed to be called the Blue Devil. I mean, this game was released pretty late in the 90s. So, like, it wasn't released around 1998, but I guess it was after all the censorship stuff. Blue Devil is a pretty cool name for a car. And I really hate this level. It's another level that causes eye strain, because you're driving along the track, and the road is constantly flashing. Just staring at the road just hurts my eyes. Imagine actually playing it. Not to mention the fact that because the turning is not kept consistent, you're constantly driving off the track because you don't know whether you're supposed to drift or not. Like, how the hell are you supposed to consistently win these Grand Prix? Fang's the only character in the game to not appear in the box art of the game outside Japan. Maybe this is for censorship purposes, because he's Fang the Sniper. I don't think he was ever shown with an actual gun in the games. I mean, He tried to shoot Sally in the Archie comics, but that's as far as it went. So he wasn't featured in the box art in the Western release. But you can still see a part of his vehicle. Kind of a strange design choice. I mean, a lot of people think Fang is cool. I mean, he comes off as incompetent, but he has a pretty badass name and design and concept. So yeah, that was Sonic Drift 2. Definitely not superior to the original game in my opinion. It's not as fast and thrilling. The race courses are really annoying and eye straining. And even the soundtrack is inferior. It has more songs than Drift 1, but some of them just seem to be improvising and they're still short and repetitive as always.